Josh with me. Maxine is a woman after our own heart. She's a hustler. She doesn't like the word no. I feel like she's allergic. Talk to me about your approach in bringing her to life and how everything comes together with the costuming and.
Oh wow, that's a long. Yeah, that'll be a long. Well, I think initially, Maxine is very ambitious, and she will stop at nothing to get what she wants. But I think that sort of twist in having her be always so sunny and positive while she's doing it, it makes you feel like, wait, I think I like her. I think I agree with her. It's like we wanted to make her likable, even though she was doing things that maybe are kind of not that likable. That's what I tried to do.
For the longest time, I thought Douglas was not even a real I thought it was a figment of her imagination, but there he was. Josh, tell me about your approach to playing. He's a pilot.
You took a lot of flying lessons.
I did take a lot of flying lessons. All the flying is real, of course. No, this was a dream job on so many levels. We had this group of people that came together that had a cast that was, an embarrassment of riches. And Douglas, you're right. He, in the beginning, is somebody who you kind of wonder is a figment of her imagination, like much of the things that she's doing. And then when he becomes real, like all of these characters, he's ridiculously complicated and so much fun to play.
Abe, this all started with you. This is loosely based on Mr. and Mrs. American Pie. Tell me about when you read the book and kind of how this story was, how it inspired you to make this particular story from it.
Well, I think I have an affinity for iconoclastic women, and I thought in the book there was this really charming kind of bowl in their china shop lady, and so that was the jumping off point. And the book was originally set in Palm Springs. So let's do Palm Beach because it's just a bigger canvas for us to play with, and then we built out the world. A book is one thing, and then a sustainable, ongoing series is another. And so you have to make sure you have all the pieces you need. So adding characters like Carol's character and expanding Evelyn Rollins, Allison Janney's character, and then once we get a cast like this, you kind of go, oh my goodness, have we utilized everybody to their fullest potential? And so, we wanted to leave nothing on the field when we got into production, and so. The scripts were constantly changing and evolving because we wanted to color with all the crayons we had in our box.
We have to talk about Carol Burnett. Any Carol Burnett fans? She's mostly in a coma for most of the show, but she has this special relationship with Ricky that is absolutely just. It's so intimate, even though she's in a coma. They are just.
Well, she comes out of it. She comes out of it at 23. Yeah.
Yes.
Coma life.
But I'm talking about, from the beginning. It's so difficult when somebody's not speaking or is not present to create the intimacy that's created between those two characters.
Well, that's why she's a master. That's what makes her a master. Is like even in the pilot when Kristen's monologuing to her, Carol's getting laughs in stillness. So like there's just a pervasive positive energy, and also like the love that an audience brings to the fact that it's Carol Burnett. You're ahead of the game there because she's just so adored, and she's so worthy of adoration. She's like the most special person God ever put on the planet.
I agree.
Seriously, one episode when she was full coma, she goes, I have an idea. I said, just do it. And she slightly moved one of her nostrils, and then the other lip, and everybody's cracking up.
In 1972, there was an episode of Maude that tackled abortion, and something that still remains controversial today in 2024. It's something that you tackled in the first episode. Talk to me about why that was important for you to include.
Well, interestingly enough, we wrote the pilot before Dawes. So we're not a show that is chasing the headlines, but I think that the writers are engaged enough in what's going on in the world. You're going to be prescient sort of no matter what. And so more and more as we were shooting the show and sort of the subtle politics of the show that are kind of intrinsic to the DNA of the show, they sort of happened in spite of us. So it was actually, as we're shooting the abortion storyline in the pilot, we're like, we cannot believe that the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah, and I wanted to add too, just Laura Dern's character in the bookstore, having that light on what's really going on in the world was important because there were some, the war going on and women's rights, and it's just the women that belong to Palm Royale, they're not even talking about it. They're not even like thinking about it. They're just like, where are we going to lunch? And we just, it's important. So I don't know, I think it's good to have, obviously all sides in there.
Yeah, to that, when we normally see these period type shows, we don't usually see the point of view of women of color. And that was a very big part of this one. We're seeing Black women, Latinas that are there. Yes, give it up for that! Woo! Hey, we want to talk about Tate, if you guys want to talk about the inclusion of other points of views in this time.
Well, they're also, we're creating worlds. So we have the country club set, and then we have the bookstore set, and it's like, what's the thing that everybody shares is like this idea of wanting to belong and a search for identity among others. And that's universal. That is not, that's not something that's unique to one class of people, right? So the other part of, adding the bookstore ladies, which were not in the original book, is, to Kristen's point, it sort of adds to the comedy as well, because it just highlights the delusion, right? And I feel like more and more, like even now, is that people would rather be on social media than engage in reading the New York Times, right? Like we're all shutting out the real world at all times. And I think that's where the show, the comedy of the show actually comes from a very sort of sad and tragic place, like all comedy does.
Josh, a little birdie told me that you were shooting Palm Royale at the same time as this other little show called Yellowstone. Is that any Yellowstone fans here? Is that true?
Yeah, I would do a lovely, incredible week of fun